Hello, welcome to Today in History. My name is Sotonie Afiasimama. If you are visiting for the first time, thanks for dropping by. If you have been here before, thank you for dropping by as well. So this is Today in History channel. So basically what I talk about is obviously important events that have happened throughout history on this day. So let's get cracking. 26th of September, and the year is 1580. So in our usual tradition, we're going to roll back the blinds to the year 1580. This man's name is called Francis Drake, Sir Francis Drake. He is a British, or was, obviously it's not alive anymore, was a British admiral. So after 3 years at sea, English Admiral Francis Drake arrived in Plymouth Harbour, England, completing his circumnavigation of the world. So this was what happened on this day in 1580. So you can see him here with a painting and a globe underneath his right hand. Okay, so let's move on to the year 1687. On this day, there was a bombardment of the Acropolis by Venetian forces, and obviously it was destroyed. Part of the Parthenon was destroyed in a powder explosion. So that's the Parthenon. That's what it looks like today. It's located in Greece. 1888. On this day, T.S. Eliot was born in St. Louis, Missouri. So his full name is Thomas Stearns Eliot. He was an American-born British poet. So born in America, he moved over to the United Kingdom. He was also an essayist, publisher, playwright, literary critic, and editor. He was born to a prominent Boston Brahmin family. He moved to England in 1914, so basically at the start of the First World War. He was 25 in 1914. He went on to settle, work, and marry in the United Kingdom. He became British in 1927, and at the age of 39, subsequently renounced his American citizenship. So this is T.S. Eliot, pictured here. He died in London, England in 1965 at the age of 76. Died on the 4th of January. T.S. Eliot, who was born on this day in 1888 in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's move on to the year 1889. Martin Heidegger. Never heard of him until today. He was a German philosopher. So that's Martin Heidegger pictured right here. And he was a seminal thinker in the Continental tradition of philosophy. Not sure what that means. Continental, maybe European Continental. Anyway, he is best known for contributions to phenomenology, hermeneutics, and existentialism. Hermeneutics, I've come across that word because I did a little bit of history in my day. Hermeneutics it relates to the study of biblical text or text of wisdom, so that's what hermeneutics is. Phenomenology and existentialism. Well, Google it up, guys. I think the clue as to what those words mean is in the word itself, in the words themselves. So I'm going to just read out this quote. I'm doing that for the benefit of those who cannot see this, or maybe who are driving and listening to this. And it says here, being and time. So this is a poster with Martin Heidegger's face. So it's a quote from him. Being and time determine each other reciprocally, but in such a manner that neither can the former, that is being, be addressed as something temporal, nor can the latter, time, be addressed as a being. It just seems like circular reasoning, but yeah, that's quite interesting. Another quote by him, which I quite found interesting and apt. Let me see. So, obviously, that's him again. Another quote by Martin Heidegger. It says, if I take death into my life, acknowledge it, and face it squarely, I will free myself from the anxiety of death and the pettiness of life. And only then will I be free to become myself. So I found this quite interesting. This struck a chord with me because I remember 3 years ago, must have been a few days after my dad passed on. He passed on the 2nd of August 2017. I did a video of him as well on his birthday, I believe, which was the 14th of August. Or perhaps I did it, yeah, I must have done it on his birthday and not the day he passed. I remember being fearless. It was, when someone who was instrumental to bringing you into this world passes on, it's as if a part of you dies, obviously, part of you dies, and you become fearless. You're like, okay, this is something I have dreaded pretty much as long as I remember. The day that, your parents get old or die in an accident or something, or die because they were ill, you kind of know it's going to come. I say you kinda because as a child, you have this thinking. I don't know whether everyone does that. Your parents are going to be around forever, basically. But anyway, so I found that I was unusually bold. I wasn't as fearful as I used to be. Not that I'm a fearful person, but I just had this thing. I mean, if one was facing death, on a daily basis, just think about it. You would see, like when people argue over little things, when people are petty, you just look at them and think, there are more important things to worry about in life. If you can face death, then everything else pales into insignificance. I guess that's my take on this quote. So I'm going to read it again. If I take death into my life, acknowledge it, and face it squarely, I will free myself from the anxiety of death and the pettiness of life. And only then will I be free to become myself. So, be yourself. Do not be afraid of what people think, because at the end of the day, life is just too short. Life is too short to be petty. Life is too short to bother about what other people think. These other people are human beings like you. They haven't got superhuman powers. They don't know everything. There are things you do better than them. There are things that they do better than you. Humanity is about symbiosis, about being in a symbiotic relationship with one another. You're not going to know everything. Your fellow human being isn't going to know everything either. That's the way. That's how we all can coexist. We remain humble. And when we remind ourselves that we don't know everything, that keeps us humble. When we remind ourselves that the other man doesn't know anything, we're not fearful of him. Why would we be fearful of another human being? Anyway, I'm going to move on now to the next event on this day. But yeah, just keep that in mind, guys. If you're listening to me or seeing this quote here, let it help you reflect on life. Be bold. Do and dare to do. Nothing can stop you. If you want to move from where you are to the next level, you have to take a bold step. Don't be fearful. Okay, next, 1932. On this day, a former Indian president was born. His name is Manmohan Singh. Pardon the picture. I'm going to find the picture very soon. So Manmohan Singh was born. So guys, my apologies again. Yeah, this was the right picture. Manmohan Singh is the next slide. So this guy's name is George Gershwin, and He is one of the most significant and popular American composers. He was born on this day in 1898. He was an American composer and pianist whose compositions spanned both popular and classical genres. Among his best-known works are the orchestral compositions Rhapsody in Blue, 1924, obviously, which was released in 1924, and An American in Paris in 1928. The song Swanee, 1919, and Fascinating Rhythm, 1924. The jazz standard I Got Rhythm, 1930, and the opera Porgy and Bess, 1935, which gave birth to the hit Summertime. George Gershwin, I think I have featured in one of my videos, so go check it out if you can find it. I will try and put a link right here, right now. I'll try, I'm not promising. Okay, guys. So George Gershwin pictured here. He was born on this day in 1898. Now we go back to Manmohan Singh, who I was about to talk about a few minutes ago. So this is Manmohan Singh. He is an Indian economist, academic, and politician who served as the 13th Prime Minister of India from 2004 to 2014. The first Sikh in office. Singh was also the first Prime Minister since Jawaharlal Nehru to be re-elected after completing a full 5-year term. That's good. Born in Gah, now in Punjab, Pakistan. Okay, interesting. So where he was born is now in Pakistan. Okay, and he was the Prime Minister of India. Singh's family migrated to India during its partition in 1947. Now this is interesting. I'm going to pause here for a bit and talk about something. Now I have a colleague in the office where I work who is Pakistani, but prior to this division, his village was located in what is now known as India. So he had to move from his village in what is now known as India to Pakistan, to what's now known as Pakistan, because he is Muslim. And so most of those who are Muslim living in the territory of what is now known as India had to move to Pakistan. So Manmohan Singh was affected by this move, apparently. So Singh's family migrated to India during its partition in 1947. After obtaining his doctorate in economics from Oxford University in the United Kingdom, Singh worked for the United Nations during 1966 to 1969. He subsequently began his bureaucratic career when Lalit Narayan Mishra hired him as an advisor in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. During the 1970s and 1980s, Singh held several key posts in the government of India, such as Chief Economic Advisor, which he held from 1972 to 1976, Governor of the Reserve Bank 1982 to 1985, and Head of the Planning Commission 1985 to 1987. So this post, I guess, tells you a bit about Manmohan Singh, also known as the father of Indian reforms. In 1991, when Mr. Singh became the finance minister, India was on the brink of bankruptcy. By 1994, when he presented his historic budget, the economy was well on its way to recovery. That's brilliant. So 3 years later, Mr. Singh unshackled the country from the bureaucratic controls and license permit Raj, and took the economy to a high growth path of 6 to 7% during his 5-year stint at North Block. Nearly 1 crore, 10 million new jobs were created. An environment of liberalization was set in motion, and the foundation of an information technology and telecom revolution was laid. Wow. My brother's actually been to one of the technology cities. I can't remember where that's called now. It might come back before the end of the video and I'll mention it. But yeah, they have this technology city in India, which is quite world famous. It's the Silicon Valley of India, I forget the name right now. So I'm going to end with a quote from him. No power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. I Totally agree. So, it's another picture of Mr. Singh, and that's what he looks like. So, okay, 1960, on this day, what happened? History was made on this day when Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy were aired live on TV. This was the first ever US presidential debate that was televised. It was seen by some 85 to 120 million viewers. Okay, so that was history. History was made on this day in 1960, the first US presidential debate that was televised. That was between President Nixon, Richard M. Nixon, and John F. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy was president before Nixon. So it would be President Richard Nixon, President John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. Okay, 1981. Serena Williams. American tennis player Serena Jamaica Williams is an American professional tennis player and former world #1 in women's single tennis. She has won 23 Grand Slam titles, the most by any player in the Open era, and the second most of all time behind Margaret Court. The Women's Tennis Association ranked her world #1 in singles on 8 separate occasions between 2002 and 2017. She reached the #1 ranking for the first time on the 8th of July 2002. On the 6th occasion, she held the ranking for 186 consecutive weeks, tying the record set by Steffi Graf. In total, she has been #1 for 319 weeks. Wow. That will be 6 years, just over 6 years, which ranks third in the Open era among female players behind Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova. Last but not least, Jacques Chirac, former president of France, passed on this day, exactly 365 days ago, at the age of 86. He was a French politician who served as president of France from 1995 to 2007. Wow. So that's a period of 12 years. After attending the École Nationale d'Administration, Chirac began his career as a high-level civil servant, entering politics shortly thereafter. Mr. Chirac occupied various senior positions, including Minister of Interior. Chirac's internal policies initially included lower tax rates, the removal of price controls, strong punishment for crime and terrorism, and business privatization. After pursuing these policies in his second term as Prime Minister, he changed his views. He argued for more socially responsible economic policies and was elected president in the 1995 presidential election with 52.6% of the vote in the second round, beating socialist Lionel Jospin after campaigning on a platform of healing the social rift, which in French is fracture sociale. Then Chirac's economic policies, based on dirigisme, allowing for state-directed investment, stood in opposition to the laissez-faire policies of the United Kingdom under the ministries of Margaret Thatcher and John Major, which Chirac described as Anglo-Saxon ultra-liberalism. So, Jacques Chirac, former French president who passed on 365 days ago. On that note, we end Today in History, because our hearts go out to the people of France who will be remembering Jacques Chirac today. Obviously, his immediate family as well. We're thinking about him today. Thank you guys for dropping by. My apologies for the Freudian slips here and there that I've had today. Got a bit of a cold as well. So thank you again. My name again is Otonia Fiesimama. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. That would help with the YouTube algorithm, help me push this video too. to more people, so that more people from around the world can benefit from history. Could take an interest in history as well, and see how history can help them improve their lives, help them look forward, because history tends to repeat itself, and we don't want the negative aspects of history to repeat itself, obviously. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I set up this channel, by the way. Okay, guys, give me a thumbs up, subscribe by clicking the notification bell so that you receive updates of my video uploads. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Bye-bye.